Whatever you have to do. However long it takes. Promise me you'll find your way home.
The reception to this movie has been exceptional, George. Congratulations on it. I just go like, man, how do you do it? This is like, after the last one, Fury Road, you thought, okay. And then you came up with another way to get out there in the middle of nowhere and and do it again.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I'm addicted somehow. It's an interesting exercise. Truth is, I find myself still intensely curious about the process, and to be able to do a film like this it tests all that I think I know so far about filmmaking, particularly when you work with a great crew and a great cast and everyone's like-minded. It's very, very satisfying if it hits a sweet spot, as they say. In order to tell the story of Fury Road, which almost happened in real time, basically 3 days, in order to make that coherent and have an internal logic, we had to write this story in order to understand the world. Otherwise, the design, every detail of the film would have been so random.
So you actually, before you even started on Fury Road, you had a treatment, you had a script in mind here already for this?
We had a full script. We were thinking of doing it as an anime, but that film, Fury Road, kept on getting delayed, and there's no point in doing this story before the other one. But we had concept art, all of it was there.
Amazing. And your casting is so great. Now, Chris, you're just great. I was watching this movie for the first time, and I'm going, where's Chris Hemsworth that said he was the star? I didn't recognize you right away, and then it's a great role, way different than the other Mad Maxes that we've seen. The script has got a lot more dialogue. It's almost Shakespearean in many ways. What was it like taking on this role of a bad guy, but a guy that's got a background and a lot in his life, and so you have empathy for him in some ways?
Yeah, that was look. I was willing to do anything to work on a set with George, and the fact that this character had so many layers to it was something. It was a real departure from what I'd been doing, but as you say, even from the Mad Max films, there was a sort of a Shakespearean quality to it. There was a sort of flamboyance and extravagance to the world, and particularly with this character, that I found fascinating and couldn't really figure it out. I had the script for 2 years before we started shooting, and we had a lot of conversations back and forth, and it wasn't until about 2 weeks before we started that I felt like I understood him, just because he kept offering up little bits of inspiration and ideas, and then it would contradict this thing, and I go, well, if I did that here, this won't work. And then I think at one point we decided to sort of lean into the absurdity of the character. We got to invent a backstory, that really made sense and really, I think, made him, again, there was empathy. You could feel all of a sudden, the history around him, or you could feel the teddy bear meant something, what that symbolized for him, which wasn't there sort of initially, but something that we grabbed onto. And it was just a lot of fun. Creatively, the most satisfying adventure I've had, for sure.
And George, how did you come up with him for the cast here? Did you have him in your mind initially?
I had no idea who could play him. And we met, I can't remember the circumstances, where we had a conversation. And I remember it was a very vivid conversation. And first time we talked, it was about an hour and a half, and I thought, holy cow, there's someone here who's just got multi-dimensional. We talked about life in general, we talked about work and approach to work, and I thought, I don't want to embarrass you, but I thought, God, if I had half his wisdom at his age, I thought that. So that really had an impact. And then my memory was, you read the screenplay after that, and you understood the character way more. I'd worked on it, and for a long time, and you understood it. You understood it more than I did. And then, without making this too long a story, just before the shoot, Chris woke up in the middle of the night and wrote in a journal my memory was about 4 or 5 pages of almost free association about the character, all from the character's point of view. And I don't think the pen lifted from the paper. I remember there were about 3 words crossed out in the middle of it. And when I read that, I thought, holy cow, he really does. He's dug down way deeper into this character than I ever imagined. And that slowly, as we went through the process of shooting, became more and more apparent. It was revealed in the shooting, and I'm just very fortunate. Yeah.
Can you talk about the stunts in this? Because there's a sense of how's he going to top all that we saw before, and in doing that, but there's been a few years and several decades, but since the first 45 years, how has the new technology, the new way of making movies, allowed your mind to go crazy and keep creating this stuff?
Well, it's exactly what you say. The first thing to say about any scene, whether it be action scene or dialogue scene, it's driven by story, which is driven by characters. So it's got to be based on characters, otherwise it's just surface. That's the first thing. But the second thing, and it's one of the things that always piques my curiosity, is that the tools are always changing. Even though Fury Road was almost all of it was boarded, and we had quite a bit of previs, now we basically use a system using the Unreal Engine from games, and it's a very efficient and very dynamic way to work out all the shots in the sequence. Not only with every human in the shot, every vehicle, but every camera. And you're able to figure out precisely what the shots is, the rhythm of the shots, and it takes a while to do it, but once you've got it, it's a wonderful tool with which to approach a shoot. So you know exactly what you're getting. You can improvise within those shots, but you know how they're going to fit together, and it's very, very safe for everybody. It gives you a high degree of safety because you know what's happening. You know all the cranes and the harnesses and all those things that you put in the shot that you know you can erase now. Couldn't do it quite to that level even back 10 years ago when we did Fury Road, and you certainly could do nothing like that 30 years ago, or 40 years ago when we did the Mad Maxes. So that was great to work with, by the way.
And what about for you with all of these big stunts? I mean, I think the stowaway sequence was like how long? 70 days, 80 days to even shoot that?
Well, it was 78 days. But that was happening. That was happening. We basically had 3 units since COVID. I'm amazed how much you can do from in remote locations, and that's one of the minor benefits of it. And so it was fantastic. Actually, it was, and again, that's the great thing to work on second unit, because you can take your time and get it right. You're not hurried if the weather's not right and so on. So it was a great way to work.
It's amazing. What was it like for you to work with that kind of?
Yeah. Well, I wasn't in the stowaway sequence, so I was off on a holiday. But
you were in
I was
enough.
watching from afar. It's kind of cheering everybody on. But I got to drive the big monster truck and the motorbike, and then the motorbike chariot thing, and some pretty wild pieces of machinery. I mean, every take would begin with the first AD saying, "Start your engines," and then motorbikes and trucks and cars, and so the sort of visceral energy that echoes and vibrates through everybody was infectious and fun and wild, and you felt like a big kid, crashing trucks together in the backyard.
And what about all the makeup, the prosthetics, the nose, all of the stuff that went into the look and the accent, getting that just down right?
Yeah, the look was. Well, you had an idea about the nose from very early on, didn't you?
Look. For me, apart from the teddy bear and the cape, there's something of a showman to him. Like all these leaders, even those we might see today, there's a certain pageantry to them. There's a showman, and I kept on thinking it's variation on a theme. So whether it's Genghis Khan or the Romans, and one of the concepts, bit of art, he had a very aquiline nose. It just, we said, oh, it's like a Roman emperor or something like that. And I just really loved the look at it. And I remember showing it to you, and I said, what do you think of this? And you said, yeah, let's go for it. And then the teeth changed, and then the eyes changed, and then everything in the hair and everything.
Before we go, I have to also shout out to Anya Taylor-Joy and to the young actress Ayala Brown, who share the role of Furiosa also seamlessly, both of them.
Well, Lila Brown, she basically took it on. It was, you know, it's certainly an arduous role for anybody, and Anya had big shoes to fill with Charlize. She's the equivalent, if you like, of the Max character. Very laconic, says very few words, but her presence. She had to do it with her presence. Her eyes, almost like the classic silent movie, you know, I keep thinking silent movie actors and so on. And it was very interesting because it's a very daring thing to do, you know, and I was, as we were shooting, I thought, okay, that's no longer Anya, that's Furiosa. It's astonishing. Like, I'm now getting used to it because we've been on this press tour, but when I saw you, Chris, I didn't believe you were authentic. I thought you were an imposter.
Where's your nose
That was Dementors. That happened with Anya as well. It was really interesting.
Congratulations. And thank you for coming out. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, George.